$700,000 in the
Absolutely.
next year, which means we can use that money towards other services for our residents, and that there are options to avoid that fee. So thank you for joining us today.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank
it. And if residents have any questions, do we have any information available to them, maybe on the website?
On the website for sure, and also feel free to stop by in person or call the customer services line. They would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Kent City Council meeting for March 17th, 2020. If you would all rise and join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor Ralph.
Here.
Council President Troutner.
Here.
Councilmember Boyce.
Here.
Councilmember Fincher.
Here.
Councilmember Core.
Here.
Councilmember Larmer.
Here.
Councilmember Michaud.
Here.
Councilmember Thomas. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We will move on in the agenda to agenda approval. Derek Matheson, do you have some changes for us this evening?
Yes, Madam Mayor, 2 changes. Would like to add an item 8H, an excused absence for Councilmember Thomas, who's social distancing this evening. And then a late breaking item, an item 9B, a motion to allow remote attendance at future council meetings. And just the quick recap of that one, I think council members are aware we're planning to conduct next week's committee of the whole meeting electronically. And in a review of the council rules, we realized that the rules provide for electronic meetings only in an emergency situation. And so this motion would allow the council to use electronic means for council and committee of the whole meetings.
All right, thank you very much. All right, with those changes, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to
Oh, sorry. You go.
I move to approve the agenda with those changes.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. As you may have noticed, there's been a few changes up here on the dais in an effort to observe good social distancing. We have moved folks around, spread everybody out a little bit. This will be our last meeting in this format. We'll be working electronically for additional meetings coming up for Committee of the Whole as well as council meetings, just working to make sure that everyone stays safe and helps observe those rules about keeping your distance and staying home if you can. So that's the change up here on the dais tonight. So we'll have a little bit of back and forth and we'll see how it works this evening. All right, we're going to move on in the agenda to public communications. The first item is public recognition, and I do have one item there, and then I will ask council members if they have anything, again, in an effort to allow folks to stay home and stay safe and practice public or social distancing. We are not doing proclamations the normal way that we do them, which is usually have folks come and accept them in person. We are mailing them out. And so I've got one proclamation tonight that I did want to bring to the community's attention, and it is a proclamation for Music for Life. I will go ahead and read that. So, whereas the benefits of participation in instrumental music at any age can last a lifetime, and whereas research now shows that students who participate in instrumental music programs do better in math, science, history, literature, international languages, reading and writing, and even in computer science and other academic disciplines. And whereas music education is an integral part of a well-rounded education that prepares students for success in life by teaching teamwork, discipline, and whereas the cost of owning or renting an instrument is a barrier preventing students from low-income families from participating in instrumental music, and whereas many adults have lovingly used musical instruments stored in their garages or attics that they no longer use, Music for Life is a nonprofit organization that has been repairing and providing ready-to-play musical instruments to participating public schools for use by students in need since 2007, and Music for Life guarantees that all instruments will be used exclusively for the benefit of students in the school district for which they were donated. And whereas Music for Life has provided approximately 3,500 musical instruments to children in the greater Seattle area, including Auburn, Bremerton, Edmonds, Everett, Highline, Kent, North Shore, Seattle, and Shoreline Public Schools, in addition to nearly 11,000 recorders to very young students. Now, therefore, I, Dana Ralph, proclaim that April is Music for Life Month in the city of Kent and encourage all citizens to donate any lovingly used musical instruments they may have to Music for Life and or offer financial support. So I will follow that up by saying I am a huge fan of this program. As it said in the proclamation, musical instruments are extremely expensive, and we want all of our kids to have the opportunity to participate in music lessons and learn how to play an instrument. It does enrich your life on many fronts, and we do know that kids that learn music, especially at an early age, do better in all subjects. So I would urge everyone, if you have one of those musical instruments under your bed, your kids have been through band, or you are not playing it anymore, to reach out to Music for Life. And again, their website is www.musicforlife.org. They're doing amazing work in our community. All right, with that, council members, any additional public recognition? Councilmember Kaur.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to recognize all the first responders, nurses, and healthcare professionals who are working extremely hard right now. Thank you for all you do. We appreciate all the work you're doing, and thank you for your support, or supporting our communities at this time.
Thank you. Any other public recognition? All right, moving on to community events. Council President Troutner, this is going to be a fairly short list.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to remind everyone that events at the Shower Center have been canceled, along with the Senior Center is closed, Kent Commons is currently closed, and after-school programs for our teens are closed. So, and again, the Spotlight Series has ended early as well. So hopefully we'll get back to things shortly, and I don't think there's any other events that I'm missing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Fincher.
I just wanted to remind people that the Kent School District has made available, or will be making available, lunches for breakfast and lunches for the kids, so school-age kids up to 18, and also the Kent Y is another source. So check on the Kent School District website. They have a list of the schools. It's not every school, so be sure to check. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I said the hope is that all community events have been canceled. We know that the order from the governor talks about groups under 50, but actually recommends anything below 10. So hoping that everyone is practicing that. I know that I did see quite a few churches that met online over the weekend. That's a great example of figuring out a way for us to still come together and support each other in this really unprecedented time. And I just want to encourage all of our community organizations to make sure that you're following those guidelines, because it really is in the best interest of not just ourselves, but our community at large, and especially our vulnerable populations. Okay, with that, we will move on to our public safety report, and joining us this evening is Chief Padilla.
All right, good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members. My pleasure to bring you a one-topic report tonight. As you can imagine, the one topic is going to be COVID-19. My report is going to be part status report on operations and part request to the community on some things we are asking them to do. So I'll start with the first question I wanted to answer is we receive a lot of questions regarding, so if I think I have COVID, what do I do? And there's been a lot of information, so I want to clarify. So for example, you're at home, you have fever or difficulty breathing. This is from the CDC. We're asking people to, unless it's an emergency, stay home and contact your physician right away, or tell a doctor, or whatever service you can get a hold of, and not call 911 right away, and definitely do not drive yourself to the hospital or ER. It exposes more people to infection. So do that, stay in contact with your doctor. According to the CDC, most people are able to deal with a mild illness of COVID-19 and recover at home, but obviously take your doctor's advice on what to do. Let's see here. Avoid public transportation is one of the things. Taxis and ride sharing and buses. If you think you have it, separate yourself from other people at home. And then they suggest, if possible, if you have this situation, if you do this, designate a room and a bathroom just for use of the person there. So that was just some advice. We've been getting a lot of questions on that. Situational report. I'm pleased to report that at this point, no Kent police officers or other city employees that we're aware of have contracted COVID-19, no confirmed cases. All of our employees remain adequately staffed to handle essential functions, and the city is operating in a less in-person contact way, but all essential functions are going. We currently have sufficient personal protective equipment, and we have ordered more, and we're hoping to receive those shipments soon. As COVID infections continue to grow, so do false alarms. It's something we want people to be aware of. It is still flu season, and allergy season has just begun. I know because I have bad allergies. So something to keep in mind just for perspective. As of today, I think it was 6 p.m., the state reported 1,012 confirmed COVID cases. It's important to note that 11,582 tests were false. So there's the level, and I'm glad that we're getting more tests. The government has been reporting at the federal and state level, more tests are on their way. So police call response, there's some things we'd like the attention of the community on. We've taken measures to limit in-person contact if not necessary for police. So we're asking people to make their reports via phone or online. And if you do a internet search for Kent Police Washington, because there's other Kent Police out there, find our link, you'll see the link to report online. We had some restrictions on there on what type of cases you could report. We've opened it completely wide open. Make your report and we'll take them in any fashion you get them. The other option, we are asking that people call the non-emergency line at 253-852-2121, and an officer will contact you and take the report over phone. So we're able to do that. Other in-progress crimes or emergencies, absolutely call 911. Officers will respond. Let's see. One of the things we want people to be aware of is that if they do call 911 or the non-emergency line, they will be getting some additional questions. All of our dispatchers and call receivers are doing a screening to determine if there are symptoms of potential illness, so that officers, firefighters, EMT can take appropriate protective gear into the situation, but they will respond, so please answer the questions. You may be asked to step outside by the officer when they respond, because we want to limit the distance or use distance and open air to conduct our reports. So we'll do that. Don't be offended, please. And we're working very closely with Emergency Management, Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority, and Medic One, and we have plans on how to support each other depending on the circumstance. So that's been laid out pretty well. I want to make it very clear, we remain fully capable of handling all of our incoming calls. There's no reduction in service for emergency or in progress. The men and women of the police department and Central City Department employees continue to do all we can to keep services going and keep everybody safe. So that is good news. Additionally, I want to remind everybody that the police lobby and the jail lobbies are closed, as are all the public lobbies for the city. Only essential visitors will be allowed entry. We have doorbells at the entrances of those two locations. You ring the doorbell, a staff member will reach you on the speaker there, and we'll triage what it is you need, and we'll assist you accordingly. Only essential visitors will be allowed in. So, let's see. Governor's order and King County Executive's order, we are seeking the public's voluntary compliance with the emergency orders. Most, if not all, of the law enforcement agencies in King County are not actively enforcing the public gathering rules. We're doing our best, we're reminding people, but really it comes down to people voluntarily complying. If for some reason you see a gathering that you would like addressed, we are asking that people call 206-477-3977. It's also on our Facebook page, or coronavirus@kingcounty.gov, and report it there, and somebody at some point will address it. We're seeking the community's assistance in the following. Continue the social distancing, particularly for those who are vulnerable to the impacts of the virus. Please do not hoard groceries in the stores. Buy what you need to keep yourself supplied, but the grocery chains and producers are working full tilt to keep the stores stocked. I think it's important to be mindful that those with lesser means can't buy a large amount, and so we want to keep some available for everybody in that regard. So do your part on that, please. Please do not travel outside unless necessary. Okay for the kids to play in the neighborhood, but they should be practicing social distancing. It's okay to go for your walk or your jog, but once you're done, return to your house or home. So those things are okay. Just keep in mind the social distancing aspect. And let's see. We want to remind people that many of the restaurants and food beverage companies in the city are open. They welcome your takeout and your carry-out orders and your delivery orders. So we want to do our part there as well. And then finally, our message to the community is this. Things are really difficult right now, but we are confident we will pull through this like we have in other situations. Please follow the emergency order and health guidelines. Be prepared, but don't be a part of the panic. We will be here for you. And that's what I have.
Thank you very much, Chief. All very important information, including that it is allergy season. I saw a message on social media today about the fact that there's a huge problem that this crisis and virus hit at exactly the same time as allergy season. So I want to follow up on some of the things that the chief said. The biggest thing is we need to stick together and not be overcome by panic. This is an unprecedented situation. There is no doubt about that. But we have plans in place. We're working together. There is not a day that is going by, including Saturdays and Sundays, mornings, evenings, that we are not collectively working here at the city to make sure that our residents have everything that they need and that we are doing the right thing to help keep people safe and help us get through this. For my report tonight, I just want to high level let you know that I am committed to making sure that you as Kent residents are informed of what's happening in our city. We'll be doing frequent social media posts as well as my newsletter going out, updating anything that we're hearing from other levels of government and things that we're doing here in the city. It's really important that we work together. It's important that we're watching out for our neighbors. So while you're practicing that good social distancing, also figure out a way to check on your elderly neighbor, make sure they have the supplies and the things that they need. We have to take care of each other. If there was ever a time for us to say we are Kent, it is right now. It is today and tomorrow and the next days until we figure out how to get on top of this virus and make sure that we can carry on collectively. Things they're not coming to an end. We're just figuring out how to manage through it. So please make sure that you're checking our social media, checking our website. We've got information set up at kentwa.gov/COVID-19. We're putting all of our updates there as well as resources for residents. We know this is a trying time when it comes to employment, housing. We've got businesses that have been required to shut down. So all of your bars and restaurants, nail salons, folks that cut your hair, all of those kind of places have been mandated to shut down. So we're asking that you find ways to support them, opportunities to buy gift cards, make sure that you're figuring out how we take out. All of those things help support our economy, help support our neighbors, and we'll make sure that the people around us can make it through this, like I said, this very unprecedented time. With that, I am going to turn it over to our Chief Administrative Officer, Derek Matheson, to give you some details.
All right. Yes, I will continue with the theme of the evening, but I will try not to repeat what you've already heard tonight. So from an employer standpoint, we're moving quickly to implement working from home for city employees. There are essentially three groups of city employees. There are those who can be sent home quickly, those who can be sent home once the technology can be put in place, and those whose jobs will require them to come into work. And for those who are coming into work, we continue to look for and implement opportunities to increase social distancing to keep everybody healthy. We're doing things like encouraging our employees to monitor their temperatures and stay at home if they have a fever, cough, or shortness of breath. We have protocols in place for what happens if an employee tests positive for COVID-19 or has symptoms that could indicate it, including protocols for cleaning work areas. As you've heard, our buildings are now locked at all times, so people who need assistance from the city clerk's office, the finance customer service counter, permit center, and police lobby are encouraged to call ahead. We're actually one of the few cities left still issuing permits, and we do accept appointments, but you need to call and make arrangements ahead of time, and we're only accepting those appointments on Tuesdays and Thursdays, just again to reduce the contact between our employees and others. Our municipal court has closed to the public and canceled its calendars for the next 2 weeks. We've canceled city-related travel for a while. We held out and left it optional for employees who are comfortable, but we have now canceled that. We've canceled our board and commission meetings. We are going to be launching city council meetings through remote means coming up starting next week. I did want to touch briefly on the King County Quarantine and Isolation Facility here in Kent. We have a key court date coming up this Friday in our attempt to get a restraining order. We appeared before a court commissioner a couple of times, one last week and one time the week before. We were not successful, but this Friday is our first appearance before a judge. We've put together a cooperative agreement that includes many of the terms that we would have included on a permit had the county come in and engaged us in dialogue and applied for a permit. We've passed that along to the county, and the best case scenario is if we could negotiate a cooperative agreement that allows it to move forward with measures in place that we believe protect the community's health and safety. There's a temporary construction fence on site now, and we're told that construction of a permanent wrought iron fence with gate will be starting on Thursday. So as far as regular items, my written report is in the packet. We do have an executive session this evening. The subject is litigation. Expected time is 15 minutes and no action is expected.
Thank you very much. And just to reinforce what Derek said, we are a large city, and we understand we have a very important role to play in flattening the curve, slowing the progression of this down, and we are committed to making sure that we are doing that in a collaborative way with all of our partners at other levels of government. Council President Troutner, I'm going to turn it over for Councilmember Reports. And again, given that most everything's been canceled, I'm assuming this will be fairly short.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We did not have a workshop today, so I do not have anything to report on that. And both of my regional committee meetings were canceled. Some of my colleagues may be having meetings through the phone or through video conference. So we'll start down on the end with Councilmember Michaud, and you can all let us know what you've been up to. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Council President. I serve on the Regional Water Quality Committee, and we have yet to have a meeting this year.
Thank you, Councilmember Kaur.
Thank you. Did not have any regional meetings in the past 2 weeks, so thank you.
Councilmember Larmer.
So I serve on the King County Aging and Disabilities Advisory Council, and we did have a meeting by phone last Friday. We had an update from the policy analyst with the health department. She shared, I don't think, anything that we've not since heard in the news. The same cautions and restrictions apply to seniors as well. There was a concern from a couple of the agencies present that about word getting out to seniors that are potentially, living alone or may not be as tuned into different communication avenues. So they are talking about flyers being printed and going out from the health department to Meals on Wheels providers that'll be delivered with the meals to help reach those seniors who may not be tuning into television channels or social media to get the messaging. So, and then my King County Affordable Housing meeting has been canceled. So,
Thank you, Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you, Madam Chair. SCA PIC, we had a meeting last Wednesday. Pretty much it was a virtual meeting, and we had the honor of having the SCA president, Mayor Raff, kind of kick the meeting off and just share everything that was going on and talked about the coronavirus. And each one in the city kind of share what's been going on and what they've been doing. And I know our director from SCA, Deanna, been sending emails almost daily, just kind of keeping us update on what's going on around the city. I think for our next meeting, I'm not sure what we're going to do just yet. So, but pretty much that was the gist of our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Fincher.
Thank you, Madam President. The committees that I serve on have been canceled with the exception of the Mental Illness and Drug Dependency Advisory Council. We will meet by phone next Thursday. I neglected last time to report that I had the opportunity to go down to Olympia to testify on the statewide bag ban. So that was, had a very good outcome. And CAO Matheson, thank you very much for that report about the adding in about the employees who get to work from home, who are able to work from home. Some are able to work or still are at their jobs. And I just wanted to mention that just on the way to work, you know, I still see sidewalks being put in coming down Reith Road. The Parks Department was mowing grass in the two of the parks up on West Hill. So the city is still well at work through this crisis. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Madam Mayor, that ends our reports.
Okay, thank you. To follow up on what both Councilmember Boyce and Councilmember Fincher said, while a lot of our standing more regional meetings have been canceled or moved to the phone, it does not mean that we are not in communications. PIC met last week. I think we had significant attendance, probably nearly all 38 cities in King County. I also participated in a phone call with 8 of the 9 South County city mayors today. We're all coordinating, trying to understand what each other is doing, making sure that we're sharing best practice, what's working and what's not working. And do want to say that we have amazing staff here at the City of Kent, and they are all we're government, and so nearly everything we do is an essential service, and trying to figure out a way to make sure that those services still occur. I do want to ask our public to please be patient while we're figuring this out. We want to make sure that we're keeping our employees safe, and so if they have the opportunity to work from home, they are. All of our operations staff, that's not the case, so they are out there working. We're doing things to separate them and make sure that we can reduce the contact they have with other people, but just want to remind people we're doing the very, very best that we can, and have patience with us because we're still trying to conduct business and take care of everybody. So thank you in advance for that patience. Okay, we are going to move on. We have no public hearing this evening. Item number 7 is public comment. This is an opportunity for people to address the council with concerns or issues that they have. We do ask that public comment be limited to 3 minutes, and if you could state your name and city of residence for the record. Going forward, when we switch to a completely virtual meeting, we do ask that if you have public comment you would like to submit, it can be submitted to the City Council at citycouncil@kentwa.gov, or you can call in 253-856-5700, and we will take that public comment that way. With that, I do believe we have someone here this evening that would like to provide comment. Kim, can you call our speaker?
I don't have anybody signed up to speak.
Okay, all right.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
If you want to go ahead and speak and then you can come back in and sign in after that, that would be great.
So, my name is Jaspreet Singh. I live in Kent, and just on an impromptu basis, I organized a meeting of folks in the community. It was just sent out Monday morning, and 15 people showed up. More would have shown up if there had been more lead time. And one of the takeaways from that is just on an impromptu basis, we signed this, which says, "We, the undersigned, oppose the imposition of this site in Kent for this or other purposes without the permission of the people of Kent as expressed by their elected representatives," and the people's signatures. A few of us that were able to went to the King County Council meeting, and that basically was held, I feel, in a manner to thwart public participation. They first spent about an hour and a half on the flood control meeting. Then they took an hour recess, which basically meant that people's parking had timed out, and some of the people that were there from Kent had to go back. 3 of us from Kent were able to speak, and we made connections with people from White Center and other communities. And about 20 people spoke. They spoke only on that topic, that is the coronavirus motels that King County is opening up without the permission of local communities. And it wasn't coordinated in what people spoke about. But basically, it ended up being that people spoke on various topics, which is the lack of local participation, the fact that businesses are closing down because people do not want to go to those areas just out of sheer panic, and local businesses in Kent have seen that too. As well, the lack of regular process. I was told that afterwards the council expressed the fact that they heard our anguish, but they voted against us anyways. Councilmember David Upthegrove presented an amendment which would have prevented the county from using that facility for other purposes without formal process afterwards, after this emergency, and it was voted down. So if it was voted down, basically that means they have the intention of using it for, they have now formally voted that they do have the intention of using it for other purposes without the permission of the elected representatives of the people of Kent. And it's quite unfortunate because for these types of situations, people would be holding meetings. The folks from White Center, we wanted to hold large community meetings, but that's been shut down just by the nature of this particular emergency. So I do, the folks that I'm in contact with, they do want you to stay strong because we believe that the county is not acting with good faith. It's acting with bad faith, so you have to stay strong. So you have to force the issue. That's all for now.
Thank you very much. Okay, Kim, any other speakers? No. All right. Okay, so that will end our public comment. We'll move on in the agenda to the consent calendar. We have items A through H. Council President Troutner, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve consent calendar items A through H.
Second. A motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. Item number 9 on the agenda is under other business, and it's a resolution discouraging landlords and the sheriff from pursuing or enforcing evictions related to the inability to pay rent due to personal effects of the coronavirus. Pat, would you like to come up and speak to this, this resolution, please?
Thank you. Pat Fitzpatrick, City Attorney. I'll be very, very brief. I think I've communicated with you under attorney-client privilege information most recently about an hour and a half ago. I hope that got to you in time for you to read. Very lengthy document there. This is a resolution where the council would encourage landlords and the King County Sheriff to not pursue evictions for individuals who are personally affected by the COVID-19 virus who are unable to pay rent. I would note that this is largely moot at this point because the King County Sheriff has announced that they will not be pursuing evictions, and they are really the only entity that has the authority to physically remove somebody from their apartment. So they have indicated that because of their concerns for the health and safety of those who might be evicted under these circumstances, and because of their staffing levels, they anticipate having a lot of people out, and people who would normally, or sheriffs who would normally engage in eviction processes are going to have to backfill regular positions. So I prepared this at the request of council, and I would defer to you all for discussion. I can answer any questions you wish, so I'll just wait here and see if there are any.
Any questions for Pat? Councilmember Core.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for that email, Pat. It really helped with my decision, but my only question is, so Kent Police does not engage in evictions at all?
Not at all. The only thing that they might assist in if there is a crime being committed, somebody's upset and there's some ruckus and some other criminal event, but typically they don't have to respond to these at all. They do not participate in this process. Under statute, it's designated as the sheriff. And so the sheriff is the only one who has authority to do this. The Kent Police Department does not have authority to enforce eviction orders.
And did they say King County Sheriff, did they say for how long they will be?
They did not, but the flavor of the article, it was an article that I read, so I cautioned on that.
Okay.
But from the statements and the quotes, it sounds like it could be a prolonged period because the anticipation is that first responders are going to be quarantined because of their responses, and the individuals who are, I think it's a unit who typically serves these orders, they are going to be requisitioned to other positions, and it could be quite a while.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Fincher. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? So due to our social distancing, my little box that tells me who's asked to speak is off. So I am going to look to Councilmember Boyce to ask a question. Technology is not keeping up with us here.
We're doing fine, we're doing fine. So, I mean, the whole purpose of this resolution really is to really protect the tenant from being kicked out, for the landlord kicking the tenant out. So, I mean, it's the whole purpose of this resolution, right?
Correct. It's an encouragement to landlords to just take a pause on eviction proceedings for those individuals who can't pay rent because they're personally affected by COVID-19.
So there's still a need for this resolution?
I would defer to you all for that. The resolution is a policy statement of the council, so.
But what King County have done pretty much addressed that, right?
King County, because King County Sheriff will no longer be processing evictions, there is no way for a person to be physically removed from their apartment in Kent.
So, I mean, I guess we could talk about it, but the purpose here was, like, it's already in place. So I don't know, we can have some dialogue on how people feel about it. I mean, if it's already serving the purpose what King County going to be doing, then to me, this is a matter of formality, and I'm not sure we need to move forward. Just my opinion.
Well, I just want to remind, it's a resolution, so this isn't, you know, we're not passing a law demanding it, so we wouldn't move to enforce a resolution anyway. This is just a statement of the council of encouragement to the landlords under these circumstances.
Okay, Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank our city attorney, Pat, for working over the weekend and answering my emails and all my questions, and also Chief Padilla for explaining how the eviction process works. I think that I would still like to support the resolution because it just, you know, lets the community know that we're thinking about this and we support the county's decision not to move forward with evictions during this time.
Okay. Councilmember Council President Troutner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So when did King County make their statement that they were going to hold off on?
Just this afternoon, about 4 hours ago.
So we had put this in process prior to knowing that information, and I think that's kind of where some of this came from. So thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Fincher.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For me, I want to still support this because King County means the sheriff is not going to show up at the door. It doesn't mean that someone is not going to still try to go through with the eviction and somebody moves out thinking that they do not have the option before that happens. So I think it's important. And for me, the only reason that I'm not asking for a law is because we weren't able to with the powers of the city also. So we do not have the legal authority to tell King County what they're going to do, or else we wouldn't have a little motel issue going down the road. So yes, I think it's still important that we do this.
Okay, so I'm going to call for any additional questions, and then we'll ask for a motion, and then further discussion can be had once a motion and a second has been received. Are there any additional questions for Pat? Councilmember Corr, your light is on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No questions.
No questions? Yeah. Okay. Having no additional questions, then, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, or Madam Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 2008, discouraging landlords and the King County Sheriff from pursuing or enforcing evictions related to the inability of a tenant to pay rent due to the personal effects of the coronavirus.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second now. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, Councilmember Corr.
I just want to say thank you, Pat, and thank you, Derek, for answering the questions on this as well. And it's very important for our community. We need to make a statement letting our residents know that we are thinking about them, we care about them, and we understand the situation they're in. So thank you and I'm asking for my colleagues here to support this resolution.
Okay, any additional discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, before we move on to bids, just want to highlight some of that conversation.
You have an added item under
Oh.
other business. It's the suspension of the rules for the remote council meetings.
Got it. Really quickly before we move on, just want to wrap that last item up. There is, government is confusing. And one of the things that I know that I am learning from our community and that I'm learning on a daily basis is who has power over what. So the council tonight chose to make a statement, and I am grateful for that. Just want to put a pin in every branch of government has their own powers. And so in this case, it's King County that has those powers to enforce evictions, and that's who we will look to. I will make sure to pass this resolution on to all of those on our rental housing inspection list, and it will be passed on as a request, during this time of crisis, can we help each other out? But just want to make it extremely clear that the city of Kent has no authority to enforce this. It is really a statement, a value statement on the part of the council. And we're going to find a lot of these things along the way about who can do what during a state of an emergency, who can do what during regular times. So just if there's questions, please reach out, but want to make sure that folks know we sort of all have a lane, and we're trying to navigate those lanes as agilely as we possibly can. So in that whole idea of working in an emergency and doing things that are out of normal practice, the next item would be a motion to suspend council rules again during this time of emergency. So Pat, would you like to speak to that?
That's why I'm sticking around, just quickly. So our council rules that you follow, that you've adopted, your rules that you created, allow for remote attendance at meetings only in emergency meetings of the city council. We just established the committee of the whole process a number of months ago, and there is no accounting for the potential for remote attendance for those, and there's no accounting for remote attendance at a regular council meeting that's not an emergency meeting. So I think out of an abundance of caution, I'm recommending that you suspend the rules to allow the council president to determine when you will meet remotely, and at the point when this emergency is over, the council president can unsuspend the rules, and we will just schedule the meetings like we normally do. So that's the motion you have before you tonight.
Any questions for Pat? All right, seeing none, then a motion would be in order.
I move to allow the council president to suspend the council rules to allow for remote attendance of council members and staff at future council meetings and meetings of the committee of the whole to encourage social distancing for the duration of the coronavirus emergency.
Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Absolutely, Councilmember Boyce.
I'm assuming also other meetings in here, typical open meetings,
We have canceled all meetings of committees and commissions and boards. If there is something emergent that comes up, especially in the case of land use and planning, then we would call that and we would do everything we can to have that held remotely. But for the time being, everything has been suspended. Okay, moving on to item number 10, and this is in the spirit of the fact that we are still your City of Kent government, and business has to carry on. We have several contracts that we need to be awarding this evening. So we've got 2 bids. The first one is our 2020 asphalt grinding project, and then it'll be our 2020 crack sealing. And joining us is Tim Laporte, Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I'll be fairly brief. Again, we've been doing this annually for some time. That's the City of Kent truck. Behind it is a grinder. We contract out for the grinding services. I think it was a couple of years ago, Council President at that time promised that he would get us one, but we haven't been able to get one just yet, so we still contract out for that. Actually, we're doing it fairly efficiently, and we're actually pretty happy with the way it's working. And that is, we bid this part out. It's a specialty piece of equipment, and these are the areas that we will be grinding. Would like to call your attention to on West Valley Highway, we're not grinding the entire street, just some areas that are really bad. Also point out that we're also planning on doing 248th Street on either side of the YMCA. We delayed that because of the construction work that the Y had to do to get that thing opened up. So at any rate, it's worked out quite well. We're very happy. These are the streets we're doing. Again, that's 248th. Please notice the pavement is like a broken mosaic or a shatterproof windshield that's in a bunch of little pieces. You can't crack seal that. It's toast, basically. So we have a number of streets like that. Again, as the mayor pointed out, we do need to proceed ahead with repairing these streets. This is Alder Lane, which is just south. That's Central Avenue in the background there. You can see the Napa Auto Parts. So we do these streets, across the city, as pointed out in the green. And again, this is work that our own crews do, which we feel is very efficient. We've been doing this now for a better part of a decade. They get a lot of work done. They're quite proud of what they do, and they're fairly efficient at it. So they save the taxpayers a lot of money, and we're very happy about that. So we do recommend moving ahead with statewide parking lot services, Inc., in the amount of $85,265. They have worked with us in the past, and we're pleased with their work. And I'm also pleased to tell you that they're under the engineer's estimate.
All right. Any questions for Tim? Okay, a motion would be in order.
Madam Mayor, I move to award the 2020 asphalt grinding project to Statewide Parking Lot Services, Inc., in the amount of $85,265 and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents, subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the city attorney and public works director.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, moving on to item B.
Thank you, Mayor. This is kind of a routine item again. This will be crack sealing. Most of the work will be done in the Park Orchard neighborhood, which is in this area. Again, crack sealing is done to prevent or help slow down the deterioration of the roadway. I believe that most of you have seen lots of examples of this. This would be like James Street in front of Showware, where the cracks, you can kind of see them. They're worth, in this case, it's worth crack sealing. It just helps extend the life of the pavement by keeping the water from migrating, from migrating into the pavement. There was one other slide, but I guess it's not here. At any rate, so we do recommend moving ahead with that crack sealing. We did talk to the low bidder, Central Paving LLC. We have not worked with them before. They were considerably lower than the second low bid. All of them were below the engineer's estimate. But we checked with their other clients. We got very good reviews on their work, and we double checked. There were no errors in the bid, so we do recommend awarding this contract.
Any questions for Tim? All right, then a motion would be in order.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award the 2020 crack sealing project to Central Paving LLC in the amount of $63,475 and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents subject to final term and condition acceptable to the city attorney and public works director.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much, Tim. Okay, at this point in the agenda, we have reached executive session. Council will be going into executive session to discuss current or potential litigation. Derek, 15 minutes, and there's no anticipated action at the end of the executive session. So if at this point, I would like to ask all those in council chambers to please have a good evening, and we're going to be adjourning into executive session. Welcome back. Council has come back from an executive session. There is nothing else on the agenda this evening. No action coming out of executive session. I do want to just once again remind everyone, please stay calm, look out for each other, take care of each other. Remember, we're in this together, and together we are going to figure this out. So with that, have a good evening and wash your hands.
To physically keep people from leaving. What this means is that at any point, a patient could simply walk into our community and spread the virus. This should be cause for great concern unless King County health officials can confirm that they